I'll just go straight into it. So these days, the financial stress on everyday life is crippling. You see this around you every day. It could be the lady across the street pushing the pram, or that looks like she has her life together, or the man sitting beside you at the lights that looks like a happy family man, but deep down, both are struggling to make ends meet. Do you know how many people in our community are actually on the poverty line? Well, Mama Lana's helps to support up to 90 people per night. This is made up of men, women, teenagers, and also children, all with a different story to tell. Some are suffering with mental health, others with addictions and or substance abuse, and some that just can't make ends meet. How well do we really know our neighbours? Would you know if your neighbour was struggling? Margaret, a grandmother, turned up to the meal service one night in pain with broken ribs from a car accident. She had walked 5 kilometres just to get food for her grandchildren. We packed her up enough meals for the family, and then we drove her home to her distraught daughter who didn't have a clue where she had been. On another night, Susan, a mum of 5, needed food support till her next pay came in because all her bills had come in at once. These situations can happen to any one of us. Food is the most basic of all necessities that no one, especially children, should have to go without. The question that I get asked the most is, why do I do it? In the beginning, Roger and I had learned about a gentleman, an elderly gentleman that was living under the Nepean Bridge. He was suffering with mental health and was an alcoholic. All that he would accept from us was some food packs. He had given up on life and people. This gentleman ended up dying alone under the bridge, being found hours later by some school children. Beside him, only empty alcohol bottles. That evening, when Roger and I were placing flowers where he died, we knew then that we needed to find a way to support those that had nobody else. Our journey to a fully supported drop-in centre was born, because it's not okay for anybody to die alone. Over the next few years, we've had many success stories. One in particular that always sticks to mind is Mr. J. Mr. J had recently been in prison. His little son lived 9 hours away by train. Mr. J only had 4 supervised visitations a year. Unfortunately, he thought his life was not worth living and he tried to commit suicide. What he thought was going to be his last message, he sent to me. We called the police to go search for him, but they were unable to find him. As a last resort, we asked them to check in a clothing bin that was close to the meal service area. Fortunately, he was in there. After being rushed to hospital, Mama Lana's organised for him to go into rehab. After many months of support, Mr. J finally moved closer to his son and now has fortnightly visits. I truly believe in my heart that Mr. J wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for Mama Lana's. Fast forward 4 years later, and thanks to our amazing volunteers, the community and AMP, our dream has become a reality with a new drop-in centre that we call the Little White House. The Little White House will be a place where we'll be able to offer one-on-one support with an outreach program where people can be connected to other organisations, as well as provide free meals, a shower and clean clothes. We'll be able to provide intervention to prevent their children from falling into the intergenerational pit that they call life. We want to create a place of acceptance without judgment for our often forgotten in our community, a place of belonging and respect and dignity. Our Little White House is not far from being up and running. Unfortunately, the one item that we desperately need that is out of our financial reach is a commercial convention oven costing $15,000. At the moment, we are really struggling to prepare the 100 meals a night that we need for our meal service. It can take up to 6 hours to prepare the meals in our domestic ovens at home. This is after myself and other volunteers have already done a full day's work. Through your generosity, this oven will allow us to prepare the meals in a much shorter time frame, time that is better spent supporting rather than cooking. We would have more time to make a greater impact on the people that we call our second family. The one thing that Mama Lana's has given us is the satisfaction of knowing that we are making a real difference to people's lives. We are all capable of being able to make someone's life a little better with no strings attached.